Hello everyone, a warm welcome to a fresh edition of Your Image, the first public relations program on television in Africa. My name is Dari Folarin. Today we are looking at preserving human faces and voices, human communication, the public relations essence. And today my guest is a Reverend Father, Father Gregory Fadele. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Father Fadele is the head of social communication of the Catholic Diocese of Pr-Primus. Yes. First off, we know that public relations started when God instructed Aaron to assist Moses in communication.
Yes.
But these days, with the influence of artificial intelligence, everybody is afraid now that artificial intelligence is going to take over everything. So the Pope Benedict
Pope Leo the 14th
yeah, now said that, in his message to the 68th World Communication Day,
yes,
he said that we should preserve human faces and voices.
Yes.
First off, this thing that you looked at, how is it going to affect public relations practice and generally communication across the world?
Well, thank you so much for having me, and also good day, viewers. This World Communications Day, just like you said, is preserving human voices and faces. And the Pope, the Holy Father, Pope Leo the 14th, has called, humanity, has called all of us to the reality of artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is gradually eroding, the place of man, in the reality of things. For instance, artificial intelligence can simulate our voices as well as our faces, in such a way that machine, generally is beginning to take the place of man, and man's, role, in reality is beginning, to be relegated to the background. So the essence of this year is to call our consciousness, to the fact of, it can create some kind of social polarization, and also create the ground for misinformation, because this is machine that can actually be manipulated, and eventually, that role that, just like you referenced that from the beginning of creation, Aaron came in, as spokesman to Moses. God has always, admired and also preferred this touch with humanity from the beginning of creation. God created us in His image and likeness, giving us our faces, our voices, as these are identities given to us by God.
Right.
And God relates with us, till the present stage of humanity. God sent His only Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, to save us. Still, communicating that same love. Thereafter the Holy Spirit came as a paraclete, to continue to communicate God's love for us. So that communication of God to humanity is love to humanity, and by extension our communications with one another, continue to communicate God's love. That must not be eroded in the face of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And that's why artificial intelligence, in as much as it helps us, to some kind of efficiency,
right,
in the way and manner we do things, should not replace that fundamental role.
In public relations, we hold truth as being sacrosanct. So artificial intelligence, these days now, what you see is not what you get.
Yeah.
And then they can take your face and clone it and do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So this is affecting truth. So what should we do as practitioners? What's your advice, Father?
Well, just like I said, AI can create misinformation, deepfakes, and even disinformation, sometimes. And it threatens truth. Even in journalism, the foundation of journalism is objective truth. So if we are not careful and we leave everything to AI, it creates a situation whereby nothing is true anymore. Information begins to fly online, or even in the mainstream media if one is not careful, and people have to say, wait a moment, can we double check, to be sure that this information we have is actually true? Look at what is happening, for instance, between the United States of America and Iran, as well as Israel, coming into the game. There are some videos, for instance, that they watch online talking about the release of ballistic missiles, for instance, by the United States and bombing Iran. And lo and behold, you go to fact check, in reality, you will see that those things are not true. These are fabrications with AI. and it creates some kind of fear, and it creates some kind of superiority, for instance, to say that one country has advantage over the other by having the capacity to build missiles and all of those to bomb one nation or the other, or a nation is winning over the other. This is what happens in a theater of war, when the media is being used as a platform through the means of AI. So the truth is suffering in our generation. That is the fact.
Okay.
Because
okay, the truth is suffering, but it's making our lives better. For instance, we can see, when you want to write and you prompt artificial intelligence, it makes it easy. It gives you tons and tons of information at the speed of light.
Yes.
Is this not a plus?
In as much as it aids for efficiency.
Right.
For instance, these days now, the truth is that we all must learn artificial intelligence because it makes a lot of jobs easier for us, by way of helping us to be able to, do a few things that ordinarily we use our natural intelligence to do. But the question is, the place of humanity in the use of artificial intelligence is what is suffering. Let it not be a case of the artificial intelligence now takes over completely what humanity, is all about. It should aid us. It should help us to be efficient in our work, not to replace us. I think that's the word. Because ordinarily, if you're conversing with me and I'm conversing with you, looking at my face, looking at my voice, you are able to get the truth.
Non-verbal cue.
Yes.
Right.
Of either the things I'm saying or the things I'm not saying, because human communication can be complex. I could be telling you a lie, but looking at my face, you could discover that I'm actually telling a lie. That's the complexity of human communication. But again, when it is simulated and AI comes in, you are not able to see you are not, you depend completely on whatever is being generated through that platform as the truth, without having the capacity to verify. So as to whether it's trusting the truth, it does, and this is where responsibility comes in. This last message, the Sisters World Radio Communication, talks about the need for responsibility, that we have to be responsible to fact check, to be sure that whatever information has been generated through AI is being, cross-checked, to be sure that is this the truth or this is simulated, or it is being, technically manipulated by a few people who want to communicate a particular information at that point in time.
Okay, what's your advice to professionals who bend the rules, who tend to lie, what does it do to the profession generally?
First of all is that it renders the profession, inactive and unproductive, to the extent that the profession loses its value.
Right.
If, for instance, as a journalist, you need to comment
So sorry for that break in transmission. We continue. We are still discussing roles of public relations in preservation of humanity on your image. And my guest is the Director of Social Communication of the Catholic Diocese of Abeokuta, Reverend Gregory. Fadele. So you were talking about the advantages of human communication as against truth, opposing truth, and then fact-checking our reports. Please continue.
Yes. As a reporter, for instance, it's important that we don't become armchair in the sense that, we just stay indoors and then we rely on AI, whatever AI tells us about a particular state of affairs. I think it was about 2 years ago when we had a discussion of, listening and paying attention, for instance, to reality before we report, even as journalists. It's important for you to go to the scene of events, for instance, to feel the pulse, to feel the pain of people, to feel the reality, before you report. Because the truth is that when you report from a far distance, relying on AI, it doesn't first of all capture the faces, the voices. It removes what humanity should do in journalism generally, which is empathy. Because that word empathy is something that is human. AI does not have emotions. AI does not feel the pains and the pulse of people. AI only says what it has been programmed to say. But when you, for instance, you want to be, the truth, to the reality at which is the essence of journalism, reporting the truth. We want to be at the scene of events, for instance, to feel the pains, the impulse, and the reality. So it's important that we should stop doing a poor man's job. A poor man's job is when you are not ready to go to the field, when you are not ready to, seek the truth, when you are not ready to cross-check and to fact-check information given to you, and when you are not ready to also be faithful to the essence of journalism, which is reporting the truth. So what you are reporting, are you depending on what the machine is telling you, or you actually reporting based on the fact that you have observed, you have seen, and you have testified? Okay.
What the father is saying is that in telling our brand stories, we should be authentic. We should be empathetic, and we should feel the pulse. So this is about laziness. Yeah. Some people are mentally lazy. Some people don't want to go the extra mile. What's your advice to practitioners who are lazy, in quotes?
Well, this is the essence of the celebration of this year. The essence of the celebration of this year is to see that those who are doing such are doing a lot of damage to humanity. Because what it means is that they create an entire industry for misinformation. And people can feed on such misinformation for their personal gain. My advice to such people is that they should get on board. They should listen to what we are discussing through a program like this, for instance, to be able to know that it's important for us not to create, to do distortion to humanity, by way of doing this poor man's job. So they should. I think it's a call to change.
Okay, let's look at revenue generation. Yeah. AI is something that can bring revenue. You told me earlier on that people are buying voices.
Of course.
People are buying faces. So people can buy African stories.
Yes.
People are buying, even the village of my mother, I told you, Aberol. People can learn about it. And once it gets into AI, it becomes something that is documented. So what's your advice to practitioners in this field? There's a vista of hope for them.
Yes. We need to narrate more of African stories. We need to be part of AI. AI is not something that is only meant to be consumed. We also, as responsible creators, responsible, developers, should also be part of, this thing called AI, in the sense that we narrate our stories. And when we narrate our stories, other people can get to hear about such stories. But when we are just passive consumers and we don't participate in it, whatever is being given to us is what we take. So it's important that for us to tell our history, our story through the same AI platform, in order that other people can get to also know what is happening, in our own domain, for instance, as Africans, and particularly as, So you mentioned the economy. The economy is a very big factor because AI has created a studio economy in such a way that your voice or people's voices or faces are being cloned and are being sold, and others are beginning to buy it. And whether you like it or not, there's some level of racism that is going on, in the sense that there's this natural inclination to foreign voices as against local voice. And because of that, we should be proud of our voices and our faces, particularly as Africans.
And our accent.
And that's important to say that we tell our story in our voices and in our faces, rather than telling our voices with a foreign faces and foreign voices. So we should be proud of who we are. irrespective of the fact that people tend to listen more or to watch more, for instance, foreign faces and foreign voices, there is more consumption in that area, particularly for content creators and all of that. But again, we should also continue to tell our story using our faces and our voices. Someday, people will come to that reality.
Okay, can you share your own story and your own experience and not your trade secrets? No?
For instance, I am a content creator, for instance, and I have some, channels on YouTube and all those. At the beginning of content creation, this is what I discovered. I thought I could tell, my story, for instance, as a Catholic priest or the Catholic faith, for instance, with my voice. I discovered over time that there is this fact of racism that is going on even on social media. That people tend to listen more to foreign voices than to, African voices and all of those. Again, with the fact of our accent, our pronunciation, the way a man will pronounce words and all those things, we could get some things modeled up in such a way that economy does not, accept our voices. So, first of all, it's for us to grow in skills of pronunciation, acts of, cadence and all of those, to be able to grow in it, the way a manner we present our stories, and the need for us to be conscious of the reality of there's a racism that is going on that platform, that people tend to listen to more, foreign voices than local voices, So my experience as a content creator is that at some point in time, I've had to also buy foreign voices. But again, the truth is that for how long will you be able to sustain that? I mean, that's a fact. So these days now, if you want some of your videos to go viral, you have to some paid, voices. If the voices are not paid for, the algorithm might not notice you, to be able to make your video go viral and all of those. So the algorithm is also being trained to censor voices and faces too. To say, are we generating money through this voice of this face? So if we are generating money through this voice of this face, this face can, go viral, or this voice can go viral as against this voice. There are human beings behind all of these things. We are also promoting this economy.
But that is not happening to music. Music, they seem to be getting it very, very right.
No,
Whiskey, just 11 billion views. Yeah. Just yesterday. What's happening? Can't we learn from music? Music is basically African.
The truth is that in as much as even those who are musicians and artists these days are also suffering this day, because whether you like it or not, these days now you don't have to depend on your natural voice to produce a music. Through the use of AI and some apps, for instance, on social media, you can write a script, you can create a voice, and you can put it online and begins to give you views, and then you are making your money and all of those. So those ones are also being threatened too. But again, at the end of the day, one of those things you can't remove is originality, for instance. In your music, what are you narrating? What is your target audience? Who are you trying to communicate to? So if, for instance, somebody like Whiskey or Davido, for instance, sings a song and he wants to communicate a particular point message to a particular group of people, that brings in some originality as against what AI will randomly designed for you, either as a script or as content for music that you put to people. So that originality, that touch is what is there. For instance, Whiskey sings now there's a mixture of English language with Pidgin, with Yoruba. You understand? All of those things make their act or their craft original.
Okay, let me share my experience during my birthday. My children composed some things for me and they put it on AI. One did the jazz version, one did the reggae version, one did the freestyle, and it was interesting.
Yeah,
these are possibilities. So, what you advise to practitioners is about exploring the possibilities in technology?
Yes, we should exploit again, but there should be natural, as much as what they do, which is wonderful, which I appreciate that. But there should be a natural touch. For instance, remember the discussion we had where we were talking about giving the oriki and all of that.
Yes, the cognomen, the African cognomen.
Yes, the oriki of a particular person. AI might not be able to do that for you. So if your children, for instance, design something like that on your birthday, and it was included, that would have made more sense to you. Different from the general thing they did to say happy birthday daddy, wish you God's blessing on this day and all that, the jazz version and all that. So the truth is that we should use it. I mean, that's the thing. AI is very good. It helps us to do it, so many things. But again, the fact of first of all, we should be faithful to what we call we should be careful about copyright.
Copyright, okay.
Copyright is also another thing, because people can take people's music, clone them, and they should use AI and all of those, make it theirs and also. So we should be careful of, the issue of copyright. Although there are, programs online to be able to detect copyright, claims and all of those. So we should be careful about copyright. We should be faithful to originality. We should use AI, but let's use AI responsibly. We should be careful. We should pay, cognizance to the ethical implications, of the use of AI. That AI can create a platform of disinformation, misinformation, but the general call is that we should be responsible, users of AI.
You should be a responsible user.
Responsibility is the watchword. Responsibility, education. We should, just like a program like this, educating people and teaching people about the use of it, and to be careful of the abuses and the misuse of it. So this is fact, and this program is also very important about public relations, because we are trying to, be advocates of this message, to the world, so that it's important for them to. The truth is that we are in the world of AI. It has come to stay.
It has come to stay. So what Reverend Father is saying is that as public relations practitioners, we should own artificial intelligence. We should own technology, because there are tons and tons of things that we can do with it. Reverend Father, your last word in rounding up, your advice to public relations practitioners generally.
Well, my advice to them is that they should continue to play this, this role, advocacy role that they are playing, which is very good. Helping to first of all, to education, to educate our people, to teach them, because media literacy is also very important. So educating our people, and the need for us to call for cooperation, because it's not just for one part of it. We all must come together for the responsible use of AI. We must, even at the school, at the secondary school level, the university level, the AI should be taught in such a way that people can get to know and the responsible use of it, and be careful to avoid, the misuse of it and the risk and disadvantage of it. Then the other one is responsibility, and then it discourse across board, whether as media people, whether as journalists, whether as even consumers of AI and all of those. Responsibility is very key and it's important.
Do we have cause for alarm, humanity generally? We survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Human beings will always survive, don't you think so?
And we always survive, but the truth is that humanity is gradually eroding in our narrative, in our story. The truth is that the human touch, the personal touch is gradually eroding. So even though we survive it, we say that, okay, it has come to say we have to live with the reality of it. But that humanity is what is suffering. And that's what this year's World Communication Sunday is calling our attention. On the need for us to own humanity. First of all, to appreciate it as a gift. For instance, your face, your voice is a gift given to you, identity given to you by God. First of all, to own it, to appreciate it, and to see that nothing, to safeguard it, to see that nothing erodes it, because that's the foundation of humanity's civilization.
And we are social beings.
Of course we are. So that is very important. I must never be compromised at any point in time.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful discussion on roles of public relations in preservation of humanity. And our guest, Reverend Father Gregory Fadele, has been helping us in unbundling it. We thank you very much for honoring our
Thank you so much.
That's the size of the package for today. Until next week, when we come your way again with a fresh edition of the program, on behalf of Akio Kudero, Buki Arinde, Akinrinde, and others, this is yours sincerely, Dari Folarin, saying bye for now.